is it? Go buy it, you morons! Do it now! Do it now! A View from the End of the World by Machine Eye Supremacy. There was not a bad track on it. It is unbelievable. You thought that Overworld was bad. So did I. This isn't the best album they've ever released. It's so good. Oh. So people think, are you sponsored by Machine Eye Supremacy? No, but I've been promoting them for the past 7 years. So, you know, I might be inclined to give them a little bit of a pushki. Anyway. I'm going to take a break from your emails for the time being, because I would like to talk a little bit about this schedule. I will go back to the worst Wrath emails. Oh, yeah. And I will be choosing one of these at the end of the show to give. Yes, indeed. To give that copy of Super Meat Boy to torture, the likes of which you've never seen. It is delicious, though. Trust me. It is a good pain. So, billowing up in arms a bit over this whole Blizzard product slate thing. And this apparently has been leaked from Blizzard. We cannot legitimately say that it is real, but we can assume that it is. It looks like it is. It looks fairly likely. I mean, this has surprised some people, but anyone that's been paying attention knows a lot about this. However, before I go into that, I need to say one thing about this. Something that was not on the product slate. This is why I'm not entirely sure that this is legitimate. Because there's something very important that wasn't actually on that product slate. Indeed, in fact, the most important thing that's going to be happening within the next 5 years, and that's the fact that Gammon is now immune to all forms of crowd control, and uses the abilities Charge and Battle Shout. He wrecks adversaries with his new two-handed axe. Now, I was looking through this, and I don't actually see any mention of this. I see, like, Battle.net 2.0 there, I see Battle.net Map Market, I'm looking at the WoW stuff, WoW Cataclysm in big letters right there, but I'm not seeing WoW Gammon. So, I don't know, this might not be legitimate. Never know. We'll see, we'll see. Now, let's go through this, shall we? And we'll have a look at what's going on with it. Now, obviously the things we're going to be looking at most of the WoW stuff. Now, you might wonder, well, what is this with WoW Mobile in Q2 of 2010? Well, it's fairly obvious what that was. If we can look at it, let's see if this actually lines up. Now, I don't know if this is real in terms of real time or if it's actually financial year, but we can try and work that out nonetheless. I would like to know when exactly the WoW Mobile Auction House actually came out. The Remote Auction House. When was this released? I'm going to try and look for that. Remote Auction House. Remote Auction House. When did that come out, anyway? Ah, yes. 19th of May, 2010. Right. Okay, so is that Q2? Yes. It's not Q2 financial, but it's Q2 real. Because the financial year, what, starts in April, I think? Am I right there, or am I off with that? At least it does in this country. I know the tax year certainly does. Financial years. I'm going to have to look this up. What is a fiscal year? Well, whatever the case, that sounds about right, doesn't it? So, that indicates, that mobile thing indicates the whole auction house thing for the mobile AH. So, that's about right, as far as I can tell. That will be Q1 financial, but it would be Q2 normal. We don't know if these are financial years or indeed if they are just normal years in the normal way that time goes. So, we've got WoW Mobile at Q2. Actually, yeah, it's blatantly obvious that this is not fiscal years. You want to know why? The reason it's not fiscal years is because Cataclysm was released Q4. And we're not in the Q4 fiscal year right now. So, yeah, it's blatantly real time. So you got WoW Expansion Q4, which is, like, now. December, that's accurate. This is Q4. So, what else do we have on the WoW front? Well, we've got a Brazilian localization of it coming in Q3 2011, if this is accurate. And then we go on to WoW Expansion number 4, which is, of course, in 2012. What kind of a gap are we looking at here? We're looking at a year and a half, folks. This is a year and a half. Now, how long have we waited for this one? Well, if you remember correctly, Wrath of the Lich King came out, I believe, 2 years ago now. I need to confirm that. I can't quite remember. Let's just have a quick look at that. Yes, Wrath of the Lich King release date. Yep, that came actually in November, I think. So it might even just be a little bit over 2 years. So, they were always saying that they wanted to release a new expansion every, like, year and a half or so. So, shooting for WoW expansion number 4 in Q2 of 2012 seems pretty damn accurate. Cataclysm's taken longer, and I'm really, really glad that it has. Honestly, I'm so glad that it took this long to come out. They could have released this, or they could have indeed shot for this, like, back in July. Thank God they didn't, you know? Thank God they didn't. Indeed, didn't I actually... You know, people were raging at me for not saying that it was going to come out earlier, because people were saying, oh, well, you know, the release date is blatantly, like, August or whatever, and I was saying, no, it's not going to be out. It's not going to be out before November at the very, very earliest. And look, it came out in December. Hey, there you go. It's easy to tell if you're watching the actual progress of a expansion. And if you've watched Blizzard for this long, you know how long they take to make things like this. And you know what happens when they rush it. Yes, you do, ladies and gentlemen. You've seen it. You've seen it with Wrath of the Lich King. A year and a half, it depends exactly what they do. Because you have to bear in mind, folks, you must bear in mind that there is as much, if not more, questing content in the new 5 areas than there was in the entirety of Northrend. There is more raid content on launch than there was on launch with Wrath of the Lich King. There are more systems there, and then they've also redone the entire bloody world as well. Plus, of course, the brand new 2 starting zones, which have had an enormous amount of effort put into them. So yeah, 2 years is entirely reasonable. Is a year and a half reasonable for expansion number 4? Possibly, because if it's just another continent, then actually that is much quicker than redoing the entire frickin' planet. Not that they have redone the entire frickin' planet. There are many areas that have not seen major changes in terms of geography. Silithus would be a prime example. Barely anything changed there. Questing and otherwise. But I suppose you've got to bear in mind that that was actually revamped at one point. We're talking about areas that haven't been revamped since the start of Vanilla. We're talking about Westfall and Darkshore and Ashara. No? Ashara was awful. It's just a bleak wasteland for the longest frickin' time. Do they want to redo Outland or stuff like that? I don't think they will. I really don't. There might be some changes to polish it up a little bit. There might be. But I don't want them to redo the entire thing. I would like them to polish it up just a bit, because honestly, the quest content now in Outlands is not as good. It's not as good as the rest of it. Confirmed. Inside sources. Now, I think that is a reasonable goal to shoot for. WoW expansion number 5, shooting at the end of 2013. So again, we're looking at a year and a half's gap right there. Might end up in 2014, but I tell you what, this does actually prove that this WoW 2 nonsense, it feels like, oh, when's World of Warcraft 2 coming out? What? It's not! Why would you need to release WoW 2? Explain this. Why would you need to? There is no reason. The game is still huge. It will continue to grow. EverQuest still exists. It's on its, 13th expansion, for God's sake. It will not happen. Not within the next... I would expect if WoW 2 is going to come out, it's going to come out within a decade of the release of the first WoW. Yeah? Give it a 10-year freaking gap, because this still works. It does. There's nothing wrong with it. It needs a polish up. Maybe they could do something with the engine, but they don't have to release that as World of Warcraft 2. There's no point. It is a constantly evolving world. You can easily evolve the game into what WoW 2 would have been anyway. Hell, half the people are saying, look, Cataclysm actually qualifies. I don't believe that, necessarily. But it's certainly a whole lot more content. And it is what I would have said WoW should have been if it were, let's say, if the original World of Warcraft was made today, excluding the graphics engine, which obviously we know is problematic, then... yes, this would be what I would expect from the questing content. This would be the level of quality and the level of variety I would expect. What else do we have on this, folks? We do have the WoW movie. Again, I pay no heed to these kind of things. Movies are weird that way. They can come out, they can not come out. I mean, we hear all of these projects like, oh, the Halo movie, and then, of course, that never happens. With WoW movie, that hasn't happened yet. We hear Warhammer movie, that doesn't happen, blah, blah, blah. I don't even pay attention to movies these days. I go and see movies all the time. I'm at the cinema every week. But I only pay attention to release dates if they're within a week. If they're actually any more than that, I get frustrated. As I started seeing trailers for Unstoppable about a month and a half before it came out. It's like, oh, this looks great. Why can't I see it? Why won't you let me see it? It makes me angry inside, folks. It makes me very upset. Now, Titan. I'm surprised that people don't actually know what this is. We've known this for ages, that they're working on an MMO FPS of some description, you know? That's been all of the indications, all of the leaks and stuff like that have all said MMO FPS. All the time. We also, I should probably point out, have something about the WoW TCG. WoW TCG's weird. Honestly. There's been some information about a possible online version of this. If there was, I would play the crap out of it. Because even though Upper Deck actually ruined the WoW TCG for maybe one block of it, the arena block was awful. It was so very, very bad. Oh. But the rest of it's really great. Now they've got it in the hands of a company called Cryptozoic, who, from the sound of it, doing a really great job. I love the WoW TCG. I think it's one of the best TCGs I've ever had the pleasure to play. And it's not just because it's driven by the great subject matter. It's because its actual mechanics are genuinely entertaining. And it's really great to play. It's so fun. You got so many options. Like, you can play a thing which is just you playing the hero and just sort of playing creatures and spells, kind of like you're playing Magic, or you can play something that's more based around the hero, gearing up the hero, or a combination of the two. You've got the raid decks, which are so hilariously freaking fun. Go watch the video we had years and years ago. It's like myself, Terpster, I think Kiki Jiki was there, Slanik was there. We were all playing the Onyxia raid. Alvis was there. Alvis was Onyxia. And we were doing the Onyxia raid deck, and it was the best fun. Really great. So great. I think we actually won by casting, indeed playing a Leroy Jenkins. And this Leroy Jenkins goes and annihilates everything. And there was just, yes, freaking God. I'm sorry, that's enthusiasm breaking through the surface there of my cynical shell. That's going to need to be repaired. I think you can do it with polyfiller. It's wonderful. It's such a great game, and I think, honestly, now that Cryptozoic have got ahead of it, I'm going to go back into it. I'm going to get back into that goddamn game, because I think it's worth it. I really do. It's really fun to play. And if there is an online version, if they make an online version, I'm not talking about using something like Octagon or Magic Workstation to play it, or even Apprentice. God, wow, yeah, I remember that. Holy shit. Yeah, Apprentice was basic, to say the least, for a while. But I'm not talking about just playing it on Octagon or whatever. An official client, hell yeah, I would play that game. Hell, you could even convince me to buy virtual cards. Maybe. We'll see. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. What else do we have? Well, StarCraft. This whole StarCraft Phoenix thing is weird as hell. Nobody really knows what it is. It's coming out at the same time as StarCraft 2 Expansion 1. People are concerned, perhaps. I mean, StarCraft Phoenix, Rising, Resurrection of what else? Well, it's not going to be a resurrection of StarCraft 64, is it? But it could very well be a resurrection of StarCraft Ghost. I don't know why you'd want it, because honestly, StarCraft Ghost, like I say, I played it, and the funny thing about StarCraft Ghost is that everyone who ever played it at different points during its pre-alpha phase, before it got canned, played a different version of it, so they've all got mixed impressions. The version I played at BlizzCon 2005, I felt was pretty damn bad. There was nothing there at all. There was nothing that would give you the traditional signs of Blizzard polish or innovation or anything like that. You know, either Blizzard's going to innovate or they're going to polish the crap out of something, and they did neither. It was a jerky, bad-handling third-person shooter with no real originality at all. It was not carried by its license, and it was bad. If they're bringing it back, I hope they completely rethink it. Indeed. StarCraft Expansion 1 coming out at the end of 2011, StarCraft Expansion 2 towards the start of 2013, supposedly. And then, of course, you've got the Diablo stuff. Looking at Diablo for a launch at the end of 2011, that surprises me not in any way. Interesting stuff, isn't it, folks? Hopefully, with all of this time, they can really work on making Cataclysm great and adding all of the content that we need in order to continue to play the game. If they keep doing that, they keep funneling in this steady stream of high-quality raiding content, and of course, they keep shoring up the PvP aspect of the game and just improving it across the board, and indeed, a great thing. I might not even go to these, but I think this is a great idea. Bringing in a new 5-man every single patch. Of course. That sounds entirely reasonable. You never know. You never know. It might actually end up being awesome. I certainly hope so. Everything points to yes right now. I am really excited to get a hold of Cataclysm. And you know what? I'm so happy that I did not do the questing zones, the 80 to 85 in the beta, because I'm actually going to go into those with genuine enthusiasm. And the chances are you're probably going to hear it. And needless to say, I'll be let's playing those for you. I'm going to be right back after this, folks. We're going to be going through more of your emails. Good riddance to wrath! That is the theme of today's show. Would you like to hear some Finnish? I'm sure you would. Meskinusi, it's Terraspatoni. Enjoy.